So after the entities, let's look into the data store. In the data store, we have the data.cs like we saw earlier. You double click on it. Then you can see we are using the namespace GPA calculator.entities. Then we declared the namespace we are currently in, namespace GPA calculator.datastore. Then we have the data class. And in the data class, we have to create a list that is going to hold the courses that we are going to be imputing into the application. So this is how to create a list. Public list courses equal to new list course. This courses here is the name of the list, and this is the syntax for creating a list. Then after the data store namespace, let's look into the services namespace. So first, let's look at the course service.cs. Now in the course service.cs, you can see that we're also using the GPA calculator.entities namespace. We name the namespace we're currently in, which is GPA calculator.services. We create the class course service using access modifier public. Then inside there, we are going to create an instance of the class grading service. We've not looked into grading service yet, but in order to do our course service, we need to create an instance of the class grading service first. And creating an instance of the class is basically creating an object. So what happens here, from the syntax that we looked at in the previous lecture, grading service is equal to new grading service. This is the syntax to create an object. This grading service here is the name of the object. These other ones are syntax rules. Then after that, we are going to use a constructor. We're going to use a constructor. Okay, no. This is not a constructor. This is actually a method. Like I said earlier, what we do in the services is that we use the actual methods that are going to help our application function. So what happens here is that we are creating a method which is called createCourse, and these are the parameters of that method. We have a string course score, string course code, and string course unit. Remember, let's look at the task story again. As a user, I want to be able to impute course name or code, course unit, and course score. It means that this is the user input, and this user inputs are going to be what will constitute the course. So they are the parameters that are going to be used to create the course. So that's why the method goes like the public course create course. Someone might be asking, why are we using course here when we are meant to use integer or maybe string, like being that this should be the return value? But that's exactly what we are doing. The return value for create course is a course. You are expecting to get back a course once you create course, so the return value in this case is a course. And we have already created an entity named course. It means that we could make our return value to be course. So once we create this method like this, we open the curly brackets at the end. Then now we impute what is going to help this method work properly. That is course equals to new course. This is basically creating an object which is an instance of the class course, which is similar to what we did to grade service outside, but in this case we are doing it for the class course, the class that was created inside entities. So this syntax, we have course equals to new course. In the bracket here we have the parameters that are going to be used to create the course. We have the course code. Remember that the course code is a string. For instance, let's say Maths 101, MTH 101 is a string. It can be imputed here normally. But in order to impute the course unit, the course unit is an integer, right? But when you are collecting input from the user, you're actually going to be reading the lines that they are inputting. And once you are reading lines, it's going to be in string format. So when you are using it in this object here, you have to pass that int. You have to pass it into an int now. You have to use int pass. Same thing with course score, is an integer, so you have to use pass there. So after you do that, you now also create an instance of the class grade. Same thing we did with course. Grade is equals to grading service dot calculate grading values. Course dot course score, course dot course unit. Okay. Yeah, so also inside the method create course, we have grade is equal to grading service dot calculate grading values. All this means is that this method calculate grading values is inside the grading service class. Note that we have not yet looked into the grading service class, but the calculate grading values method is inside the grading service class. So grading service dot calculate grading values calls that method from the grading service class and uses the course score and the course unit to calculate the grade for that course. So all this line 11 does is that it calculates the grade for the course using the course score and the course unit. So next we have the course dot course remark is equal to grade dot remark. This means that the course remark for each course is gotten from the remark based on the grade. Recall from the grading criteria, we were told that from 70 to 100 is A, 60 to 70 B, and so on. So that's the code that was written to get the remark from the grade. So we have the course.student grade unit, and this is also gotten from grade.course grade unit. We'll see more of this inside the grading service class. Then we have course.course grade is equal to grade.grade. Course.course weight point is equal to course.course unit times course.student grade unit. Note that the weight point for the course is equal to the course unit times the grade unit. That's all that's been done in line 15. Then in line 16, the course unit passed is equal to the grade.course unit passed. This is also gotten from the grade class. Then at the end of this create course method, you have to return course. Note that the return value is course, public course, create course. The return value is course. So at the end of the method, you have to return course. So now let's look into the grading service and see what's happening there. So now you can see that we have a lot happening here. There are a lot of methods being implemented here. There's a lot happening here. So at the top, we have the using. We are using the GPA calculator.entities namespace once again. And we're also using the GPA calculator.entities.enums. I omitted these enums the first time, so let me go back and explain it now. You can see that it's inside the entities folder. So let's just go back a bit into the entities folder. You see that it's a folder inside the entities folder, and you can see the C# file there, score grade. Before I go into the class, the score grade class, I want to let you know that all the enum is used to determine the grade depending on the course score, be it A, B, C, D, E, or F. So enums are used when you have a specific set of options that you can choose from. So in this case, we have A, B, C, D, E, or F, and it could be either of them. So that's why an enum is used. So let me go in. You see, this is all we have here. The namespace is GPA calculator.entities.enums, and all we have here is public enum, score grade, open curly brackets, F, E, D, C, B, A. And this is the syntax for creating an enum. Someone might be asking why it's arranged in this way, F, E, D, C, B, A. I will come to that very soon. There's a reason for that. So let's go back to the So if the course score is less than or equal to 39 and the course score is greater than or equal to 0, results.grade is equal to scoregrade.f. We call scoregrade from the enums namespace. Scoregrade.f to string. All this line 12 does is that it's saying that if the course score is this, then the grade is going to be equal to F. Don't mind this long code here, but in order to understand this, let me take you back to the enums, to the score grade class in enums. So when I hover on this F here, you can see that it says scoregrade.f is equal to 0. So you should know that enums, each of these letters in the enum, they have an integer value. They represent an integer value. The first letter in this enum here represents the value 0. The second represents 1. The third represents 2. And this is by default. So all that's been done here in the grading service class is saying that since the enum says that scoregrade.f is an integer value, which is 0, and it's not the integer value we want to assign to grade, we want to assign the actual value of f. So we have to convert this integer value of 0 to the actual letter, which is f. So that is where we use this toString here to convert 0 to f. You can see when I hover on score grade here, it says that it's 0. So this toString that is appended at the end converts that 0 to f. So if this is the case, the grade will be equal to f. Then the result.courseGradeUnit will be equal to scoreGradeF. In this case, there's even no need to put this integer in front of it, because scoreGradeF is an integer by default. But just to be sure that we get an integer, we append integer in front of it. So now we get the value of 0 for the course grade unit. Then the remark should be fail. Then the result should be course units. Okay, then we have results does course unit passed should be 0 since the student scored F. So else if course score is less than or equal to 44 and course score is greater than or equal to 40, we do the same thing. Result.grade score grade E dot toString. We have that there. Then for the course grade unit, we have this remark, we have pass. Then the course unit passed is going to be the course unit of that course. You get me? Then else if this time less than and equal to 49, greater than and equal to 45, score grade D, int, fair. Like, you just write the code the way it was instructed in the criteria for A, B, C, D, and the rest. So this is for D, this is for C, this is for B, and this is for A. Excellent. And at the end, you return the results. So let me go back once more to the enums, to the scoregrade.cs. Now, I know some of us may have already understood why, but the reason these letters were arranged this way is so that we can have a score grade value of 0 assigned to F, so that it will be easier to use it in the grading service class. Yeah.